And we're live. Hey, everyone. It's Lev from Trotec Canada. Welcome to everyone watching across the country and around the world. We have our, the usual crew, the panel here. Stephen, Mike, Mel, and James is on his way. And we have a very special guest today. It's Mr. Todd Bishop from Dormie Workshops out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. I'll say hi to the guys. Welcome, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Actually, I'm going to pull up the screen here because you guys do some very, very interesting stuff that we did. We actually did a video with you guys about 2 years ago. Can you give us a brief intro about yourself? What do you guys do? Tell us about Dormie.
Yeah, so Dormie, we're in our 6th year now, and it kind of started based on my brother was in Florida at the time playing. We were both PGA professionals, not on the PGA Tour, but those that know golf, there are different levels of professional. You can be a club pro, which is probably 98% of the professionals that you would have that PGA designation. So you could be a teaching pro, which we were based out, that was our main game. And we were also trying to play, and while we were playing, Jeff had seen some leather head covers and thought it was pretty cool and unique. So when he was trying to find some that he wanted to actually buy, he didn't really see anything that he liked, and that was kind of the genesis of how we got to where we are. It's just taking a very small segment. It's an extremely niche market, and so what we do. There's only a handful of competitors, but back in 2014, there was hardly anybody, doing it. And now there's a whole bunch of mom and pops doing it, and there's definitely new competitors. So we're always having to stay on the cutting edge of when it comes to our designs. And so that's kind of what we've hung our hat on, is just we've invested heavily in the design aspect of the fashion component for functional fashion.
So you guys actually started only in 2014?
Yes.
Wow. And I mean, how big is the operation now? Like how many staff members do you guys have on site there?
Yeah. So before COVID hit in March, we were just about to hit our right around 20.
Wow.
So we got, once government regulations hit, it everybody were working just based out of your home, except we were able to keep the shop open, but limited to only 5 staff members. So it was a huge cutback. If you think of a tube of toothpaste, the tube was full, and we only had a tiny little nozzle at the end that we were trying to pump all this product out. So we have just kind of turned the corner. We're hiring again. We have actually just had an accepted offer on a new property that we're looking to move the workshop to, which will be double the square footage. And it'll be fully, like right now we have everything under one roof, but we do have a partner company that does our embroidery. So we'll be looking at taking over the a large facet of the embroidery part now we'll be able to do on our own as well. So it's definitely exciting times, and we've been on a steady growth chart, and Trotec was definitely a large component of that growth.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Todd, like, how did you grow the business? Is it a lot of online advertising? Of course, social media is a huge factor. What else different? What other avenues did you use actually to grow the business?
Yeah, we've done some, I would say guerrilla marketing and bootstrapping. Jeff and I just did everything as entrepreneurial as possible. So we still have 100% equity in the business. No loans, other than there's been some provincial programs that we've leveraged. The initial one was called SEED, Center for Entrepreneurial Education and Design, I think it is. And that was a $20,000 loan to get us to the first trade show. So kind of to answer your question directly, Mel, our biggest impact that I would say got us to where we are is attending the trade shows that are golf specific, and they're run by the PGA of America and PGA Canada. We'll put them on.
I guess it helps a lot if you're part of it too, right?
Yeah. So
they see the sample.
100%. Like we leveraged again our current network that we already had from when we were playing and teaching, and so the guys who we knew, we said, hey, we're starting up a company. It's going to be leather head covers, and the guys are, some of them knew what it was a lot, but 80% of the guys had no clue why you would want to use leather head covers. And it is a throwback to the old days, because that's if you were around in the 50s, 60s, 70s, that's everything was, geez, you could get a full leather bag back in the day, and you wouldn't look out of place. Nowadays,
Mel still has wooden shaft golf clubs.
You beat me to it. I'm not sure if you've seen the movie Tin Cup with Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
The old fashioned, like the old style bags and the head covers too. Eh? But Mike, he was using stone back then. We got
to take the shot for.
What I want to know is, do you have a head cover for Mel's hockey stick and wedge that he's got?
Oh, does he have the hockey stick putter? Or does he got an?
He's got a hockey. Yeah, he got it from Adam Sandler. So
Well, we do have a fair amount of a wide range of products now. So we started with head covers, and then we got into making putter covers, and then that led into a whole different category of, there's blades, there's mallets, then there's mid mallets, and so. The putters is definitely a rabbit hole that you can really get lost in, and so we've kind of limited how many we offer now. But then we've gotten into doing weekender bags. That's probably and we also have we're doing the Sunday bags. So we have a full leather golf bag now that you can buy if you want. But we don't have them on the website yet. But that's a new product that's coming up. But we're doing a lot of travel stuff. So golfers in general go, at least they're comfortable driving around an hour to get to a golf course. But when you take a vacation, golfers love to travel. That's their whole thing. We've designed passport holders, the portfolios. So, these things here, everybody on our staff has one, and we just, wherever we go, we've got all kinds of leather products that have been tested and tried by us first, and once it passed our tests, and we put it out to the public.
And I should mention, if you guys in the chat, if you have any questions for Todd about this, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat, and we'll ask them. Todd, I actually have a question. I mean, these golf covers, because it's such a niche market, where did you guys kind of decide the price point? I mean, was there a lot of competition? Well, you mentioned it wasn't that much competition in the beginning. So where did that price point come from?
Yeah, so the price point at the beginning, we had discussed in great length what our strategy was going to be. And we had decided that we wanted to basically just raise the bar and never stop lifting it. So our covers, you can still get an $80 cover. And when we first started back in the day, I think our initial driver cover, started at $75. So over the 6 years, we've been able to offer, I would say an entry level. But we also have, covers that now we have a St. Louis Blues cover with the Stanley Cup with the NHL license agreement. That's $350. So
you have one for the Leafs with an L on it?
Hey man, they're in the playoffs. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that our relationship with MLSE, who owns the Raptors as well, we that's what got us into the NHL because we had such a strong relationship and we did so well with the Toronto with the Leafs, and then the Raptors came on board, and then so we talked about it, and we're like, man, let's see if we can get the license for the lease. And then that we had I went down, talked to the guys in New York, and they were like, you might as well just get the whole league. And I was like, sounds great to me. And
was it difficult to get the NHL partnerships? And
it's there's if you compare, say, NCAA to the NHL, I would say the NCAA is, every school is kind of its own entity. So and some are like primo, like Notre Dame and the UCLA, like those schools have such a built-in following, and it's generational. Those are extremely expensive and sometimes pretty laborious to get through. NHL was really, I think it's probably more of a testament to the guy that Frank Sexton was the guy who was our contact there and did the deal, and he's extremely professional and actually works with us to make sure that it's a successful partnership. So it's not like, get the license deal done and then you never hear from them again. I actually was talking to him yesterday, and he's introduced me to some other people that are licensees. And Melly, I think you had asked about where some of our money is being spent, and Facebook advertising is one of the avenues that we've chosen to experiment with, and it's been extremely successful. And this was based on our introduction from Frank to Gilson Snowboards, which is a snowboard company in the U.S., very similar size, and it's a family-based, family-owned business similar to ours. And so there's a lot of synergies there, and we just hit it off like crazy. And now we're working with them with our Facebook campaigns. And so you just never know. Like these, you start on from a conversation with a guy in Toronto with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Next thing you know, that leads to a license deal. Next thing you know, you're talking to other licensees. So you start at one point, but you can end over almost backwards and around again. It's just the way the business is if you're strong in communication and networking.
That's interesting. Cameron's actually asking, what was your first product that you guys started with? Do you remember like a specific design?
Yeah, definitely. It was a driver head cover. So when we first started, Jeff and I had no sewing experience whatsoever. And so we were going from literally tailor to tailor in the city, trying to find guys that actually had a leather machine, which was a challenge in and of itself. And then we hit Kijiji and found some people that were, at home seamstresses. And we found this one particular lady that she was probably late 60s and had really bad sciatica and was in a wheelchair basically, but loved sewing. So she could, her hands and was extremely strong. And she helped develop a lot of the early products. And the first one was getting the driver cover right and fit, and where do the elastics and how do you figure out the tension, and we didn't. Our first product actually didn't have a liner. It was just the leather itself. And so if what we found, and we knew we needed to dress it up, but we didn't really know how because we weren't pros. If the driver cover, if the head was wet and you went to slide it on the leather, it would kind of stick a bit. So then we knew, okay, back to the drawing board, we got to figure out how to get liners in there. And so each step, now we've got, if you flip our head cover, I've got one here, if you flip it inside out, it's all hidden seams, and literally it's almost like a double-sided cover because the inside looks just as good as the outside in terms of the stitching. So everything's clean. Like if you flip one of our competitors' covers, it'd be all exposed edge. There'd be threads hanging all out of it. But this thing, all the way through, is seamless. So you could literally use that as your head cover if you want.
It's almost reversible. So,
yeah, it pretty much is. It's definitely a pain to flip them, but we have done covers where we had we did reversible covers with a zipper. So we did a tearaway zipper, and then you could flip it really easy. And that was like, I think in our 3rd year, we experimented doing that. And that was pretty popular, but
is that microfiber? Cameron's asking.
Yeah. So the liners that we use are usually a cotton poly blend, but we've used everything from like flame retardant. It almost looks like insulation that you'd have inside a winter jacket, to really thick, kind of a thicker pile, so that it would be like almost like a mitten inside. So there's the liners themselves. We really lifted that level. A lot of our competition, it was just a single color, and or there's no selection at all. And what we've done is we've taken that. It's just like a blazer. Like, I know I went to a wedding one year, and this is in Halifax, and it was a green on the outside. I bought it at the thrift shop like 2 hours before the wedding, and by the end of the night, I had flipped it inside out, and there was this beautiful gold like lining inside. And everybody's like, "Man, that's the sickest blazer we've ever seen." I was like, "Yeah, it's inside out. Like, it's not even." But this is at 1 o'clock in the morning. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to show our viewers that you guys also partner with Dick's Sporting Goods and Golf Galaxy. Can you tell us kind of about why you guys decided to have another partnership with another firm? I mean, the prices, I'm assuming, are the same as on your website everywhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Golf Galaxy actually came to us, and because we've approached Golf Town in Canada. So it's kind of 2 major retailers that we deal with. And so it's the Canadian side is Golf Town. So we have an online presence there. And as you mentioned, like, it's dollar for dollar. And they don't really offer any discounts on our product, because we typically don't discount except on like Cyber Monday and Black Fridays. We will do some seasonal stuff every now and again and run some contests, but the Golf Galaxy one was a great opportunity to be introduced to a larger golfing public. So, did a couple different things. It was tough originally to get in there, just because there's it's called EDI, Electronic Digital Information, something to do with like how you communicate when it comes to them running an order or placing an order. And so that's been our biggest challenge with them, really. It's not really making the product. It's more how you communicate, keep track of purchase orders, and reconciling and invoicing. So as the business grows, things become more complex. And, back in the day, it used to be we just had basically a piece of paper that we had done on an Excel sheet, and we'd type in the numbers and send it off, and that was it. Well, now we've got a dedicated staff person that's dealing with invoicing, and our big thing has always been accounts receivable. I'm sure you guys may be the same way. Accounts receivable, if it gets out of hand, can sink your ship really quick. So we learned to nip that in the butt as quickly as possible, and because it did get out of hand there for a while. The fortunate thing about golf business and who we cater to is it's usually mid to a really high end private clubs and public golf courses. So their credit is usually really solid, and they're not going out of business. So we just knew if we were persistent enough and we had some records, we could always get our money back, or at least get paid.
Yeah. What sort of terms do you normally give those customers? Like, they have net 30. I think it's good for the viewers as well to find out.
Yeah, 100%. That's what we offer. It's net 30. And for those that aren't familiar with that term, basically, if you were the golf pro at a golf course and you became a partner with Dormie, and you ordered, let's say, our minimum order for wholesale pricing is 18 units. And that can be broken into, like, say, 6 drivers, 6 fairways, 6 putters. So once that order is placed, we're not invoicing you yet. We make the product. It takes about 4 weeks to turn the product around. And once that product is delivered to that pro shop's door, that's day one of your net 30. So you have 30 days of grace period basically to sell the product, recoup the money back, and then pay us in that time, by 30 days.
Yeah.
So
if you're not careful, that's pretty dangerous, right? All your cash flow and all that stuff.
exactly.
Mhm.
And when you get in with the big boys like a Golf Galaxy, their terms are not net 30. They make their own terms, and those terms, I believe, are like net 45. So I actually can't remember the exact. I know it's longer than what ours is, but that's, you kind of have to be very, understanding and open to the fact that it's a good opportunity that doesn't come knocking on your door, and there's just certain things that you have to, be flexible enough and be creative with whatever it is. Maybe as owners, we're not going to take a paycheck for a couple months. Whatever it is to get us through, to get Golf Galaxy on board, we were going to do. And we're in year 3 with them now, so we're getting to get paid again as an owner.
And how did you guys find out about lasers in general, like the laser machine?
Yeah, that actually started really early in our process, because we kind of the whole point of our business was to be able to express yourself, and whether that's putting just a simple personalization on there, which was kind of our thing, was we could make a nice cover that might have been, let's say you're a Canadian, you want a cool Canadian cover and you want your name on there. Well, embroidery would be kind of the go-to thing. And we thought, well, what else is out there? And we started to look around, and we heard about laser technology and laser and leather and how it worked, and it worked really well. So we thought that was, a unique thing, and we found out that it was really an affordable option, because an embroidery machine, let's say you just want to get a single head embroidery machine, and for those that don't understand embroidery, you can get up to, well, there's 8 heads, so all 8 heads are sewing the same pattern at the same time. So you'd load up 8 different head covers, and that's how you kind of mass produce stuff. But those machines are $100,000, where a single head is about $25,000. So a laser there's so many other variables that you can use it for, and I guess applications, that it seemed like something that was really interesting to us. And one of so the original laser was actually, it was a much smaller machine. It wasn't ours. We were, again, this goes back to the time when I was selling. We were driving around Halifax looking for tailors. Well, during that search, we found a small company that had a laser and did leather work. So we had commissioned them to do some of the work in our early days, and that's what got us to be able to scale a bit. And from those days, we started to look at lasers and learn more about. As you can, like that video there, you could see some of we've gone heavy into what's called leather applique, and so applique replaces the embroidery. So like on a hat like this one here, the P, you can see that's raised embroidery. Well, we would do that in leather, and you can have all kinds of, like this, for example, is a cover that combines embroidery on the bottom, and then this file here is all leather applique. So you can see it's textured, multiple colors and multiple layers, and it's a very complex build. And in our industry, this is what these teeth and the tongue and the backdrop of that mouth, this is what caught the eye of the golfing public and Golf Digest and everybody, because we were able to take people's, if you were a military guy or maybe a World War II, veteran, and that's nose art from World War II planes, that would really resonate with those guys. And they could be a great grandfather of somebody, and they would go, man, he's still golfing let's get him one of those covers, and we'll get his number on there, or his whatever, if he was a sergeant, or. And so as those covers start to come out and those stories are shared, those stories are each cover is basically a billboard for our business, because people, one of my things is, I think, in life in general, he who has the best stories wins. And, on the first tee box, I always like to, learn about people that I'm playing with, and the guys I really remember are the big storytellers that are entertaining, and these covers give you an opportunity to tell a story with just basically pulling it out of your bag. People are going to go, "What is that?" and it's just further extension of that was, so people started to send us items that were important. So like that they wanted to turn into family mementos almost. So we've done everything from making covers out of old military jackets to jerseys. One of our biggest and probably the largest, I'd say, bright spot in the last 6 years was when we started making baseball head covers. So people would send in their baseball mitts, and we'd tear those apart and then rebuild them, and so we call that experiential. So they're experiential head covers, and in that cover, there's a lifetime of stories already built into it, without even being a new head cover. And so we've got a bunch of big leaguers that have, like, some World Series gloves we actually got to work with, and so that was pretty awesome when you get to that last level. Like there's not a lot of people that have been in a World Series, let alone win one, and then we're making head covers out of them. So it's crazy how it's all come together.
And how do you usually find, do customers buy the entire set, like a cover for each golf club, or is it like a special golf club that they would buy like as a gift?
One of our main concerns when we first opened the business was that it would be, you would buy your one cover and never come back. Mm-hmm. It would be a one and done purchase, because you're spending $100 on a cover, and it's a big spend. Well, we were dead wrong on that, fortunately, and people were coming back year 2 to get their fairway wood, year 3 hybrid, year 4 putter, year 5 redo the driver, and so on and so on. So we've got guys, if you go on Facebook, that that they're proud to show their collection. So these guys now are collecting covers, and some guys have 7, 8, 9 different covers. Guys are getting autographs from players that are not, they're using them in their man caves. Some of these covers don't even see the light of day. Like, they literally are turned into trophies and,
wow,
wall pieces.
So you actually sold to Andrew in Ireland, so you have one customer there. Speaking of demographics, do you guys mostly sell in North America, or is it worldwide? What kind of percentage would you say territorially?
Yeah, so to answer Andrew's question, we definitely ship to Ireland, no problem. And we do ship all around the world. So we've got players in Australia, Japan. We've got there's actually a store that carries our stuff down there. So the Asian market is something that's emerging, and so Korea is a huge golfing country, and we're definitely going to we have our targets set on them. But again, we went to the UK a couple years ago, and so we've got like Kingsbarns, which is a relatively new course over there. It's about 15 minutes outside of St. Andrews. So they're a huge feather in our cap to have them on board, and they go deep with their collections too. So, and they really let us run with some fun designs. But it has, I would say, percentage wise, it's mainly US. Canada is, I would say, at about the 30% mark now. It used to be 70 Canada, 30 US, probably by year 2. Year 3, I think it was about 3.5, 4. The US was almost at that 50-50, and now US has taken over, and it will continue grow in that type of path, where it is just going to divide away from Canada, and it'll probably end up about 80-20, I'm guessing, by the end. Maybe 85-15, depends on how everything grows here.
Yeah, and I mean, even like
Go ahead,
Mike. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask Todd, any special techniques you use for cleaning the leather and all that?
Yeah, it's a common question that we get, and so just to understand a little bit about leather and the background of where we get it. Majority of our leather is from Italy, and so it's most of it is treated, and so the ones that you see that are colored, like the blues and the reds and the whites and the blacks, those are similar to like an upholstery grade, kind of, if it's car seats you want to think of. Car seats are a little different because they need to hold the high heats, because it gets like 140 degrees in a car, and so if you feel the leather in a car seat, it always almost feels fake, but it could be. Like, don't get me wrong, there's lots of people that call it leatherette. Like, there's a million different ways of faking and just wordsmithing the term leather. It's a really sketchy area for us, and that's part of the reason why we use the cow as our main logo, because we've never used synthetic leather. We are pure.
Yeah, that was my next question. So you've never used or will use synthetic leather?
No, and there's times where we would, in a certain, let's say a customer sent us in a piece of synthetic leather that he wanted in his build. We're more than happy to include that, and we have done in those experiential covers. We've used different materials, like Corona had a promotional bag that looked like an old kind of hay bale kind of bag, like a potato sack, and it was a cooler. So we pulled that apart, and where the branding of the Corona label was, we turned that into a head cover, and people love those. So again, it's that experiential, just looking at a cool print and figuring out a way to turn that into a head cover. But to clean the leather, it really is, if it's treated, like for example, this cover here would only be just soap and water. And if you get, let's say you get a pen mark on there, there's a product called Magic Eraser. It's made by Mr. Clean.
It's Mike's favorite. Yeah, it was made by Mike. Mr. Clean is right over there.
Hey, Todd, a lot of people are probably dying to find out, like, how do you deal with the smell when you laser it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
The smell of leather?
Yeah, when you cut it with the laser. Oh
yeah, that has that. So we clean our products like thoroughly as best we can, because there's a residue that's left behind from that, as you can imagine, and we use Windex and water. So around the edges, if we had like a burned, let's say this was a burned edge here, we would take the Windex and water and just clean it as best we could with shop towels, like those blue towels that you see mechanics using.
Yeah.
That's what we use. The Magic Eraser, though, you have to be cautious, because you can damage the surface if you dig at it too hard. So that white, you wouldn't notice it until you see it in the sun, and it'd be like, just to be one color, and then all of a sudden there's this little smudge down here, and it's lost its kind of shimmer or shine, and that's because you've gone too hard or firm. So we always tell people soap and water. If the inside tip is Magic Eraser, but the Magic Eraser is dangerous because you can actually damage the product. So we don't really advocate that much unless you're in our situation where we know there's just a light dab that you can do to pull it off.
That's a lot of trade secrets there. Thanks.
That's one reason why I always wet them.
Exactly.
It calms the effect of the abrasive. Yeah.
If you're using the Magic Eraser, use the Magic Eraser the whole thing, not just the one spot there. So at least the color is
right. Yeah. Well, that's true too. I mean, those, I don't know how they ever figured out how to make those Magic Erasers, whether there's a little bit of bleach in there or something, but they are a potent little, they're a very powerful product.
Yeah, we used them.
Stephen and I could use them to cut down the shine in our foreheads a little bit. I think, right?
Todd, we got a question.
I gotta abuse somebody.
That's funny. We got a question from Cameron. What is a reasonable cost per square foot for real leather? Synthetic leather is bad for the laser. He meant laser, correct? Now you don't have to get into like obviously what you guys are paying for leather. I don't know if you can give any kind of general price for leather or maybe the grades of leather that you get if there are certain grades of leather.
Yeah. So our stock right now, like if we went out back, we've got about 150 stock colors, and then we carry inventory of that, and there are different grades, and I'd say if you find the right partner in leather for a Canadian distributor, you should be able to get upholstery grade leather somewhere between, I'd say, $5 to $6 a square foot. And that would be something that would be I wouldn't say waterproof, but water resistant is a good way of describing it. Leather, it's the world's oldest technical fabric. So, there's a reason why Conan and all those guys back in the day would have a sword and a strap of leather on them, because that was what they used back then, and it's still the best, most, it's leather it's what everybody wants. And it's got the best feel. As it ages, it gets better. It becomes softer. There's different characteristics of each of our leathers. So like this gray one here is it's you can see it's kind of got a duller finish to it. And this will patina over time. And you can actually see where we did a debossing on this one. We were just doing a test. And so as this leather ages, it actually turns to a really high gloss finish. So it starts out with a matte finish, and by the end of it, it ends up with a gloss like Mike's head. I have the same head, so I'm allowed to make that joke.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yes. Now, do you buy a lot of rolls of leather, or you buy a lot of offcuts, or do you buy both? Or
when we first started buying, they used to come folded, and we found that the folded leather just had too many creases. There was too much wastage, and so everything now comes on a bolt or a spool. And
kind of spool,
those are it's like an 8-foot high spool, and you get about 55 square feet per cowhide. You can get some that are excess of 65 square feet, and some of the smaller hides we do some gator. We've got exotic leathers as well, boa and but the gator can get really expensive. You can get finished really high end gator would be about that long, no more than maybe 2 feet, maybe 8 inches wide, and you could spend $1,000 on that.
Wow.
Yeah, we just got a question from Cindy. Would like to see leather being engraved. So I'm just putting some generic videos that Trotec produced about engraving leather. Do you guys actually use that kind of raw hide? I've used it a couple of times for engraving like this stuff.
That stuff, it works great.
Yeah. Have you actually done any kind of photo engraving on that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really?
We've done like topographical maps. I always describe this machine as a photocopier for leather, and then people kind of understand there is no limitation, other than it's colorless. So if you understand what a black and white photocopier was, then you know what you're getting with this laser machine and how it's going to treat the leather. It leaves a tonal finish to it, and if you're fine with that, then there's obviously some colors where it depends on what type of finish you want. But the one that you're showing now, that's a really good color to make it pop. Where we'll do laser etching on black leather, and it's very it's subtle, but some people want that. They don't want that to pop, and there's different reasons and motivations for every design piece, but there's really no limitation on the different colors either.
That's the perfect way to describe it. Photocopier. now, because when we usually tell people it's a printer on steroids,
Yeah.
and they usually ask you, can it print color? And then, you have to explain it. But if you say photocopier,
Yeah.
that tells the customer right
That's
away
it.
that you can only do black and white, right?
Yeah. And then they get in that headspace and it's like, okay, that we can make that work. Yeah, that's beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah, this is the couple of stuff that we did. So I just wanted to show guys that, with the raw hide, you could do photo engraving on the raw hide leather because it's such a nice material. It's thick and it's not going to crumple up. That's the other thing. I remember when working with a professor from I think it was George Brown. We did it like it was thin. It was actually Italian leather. It was thin and it would curl up when you would engrave it a lot. Do you guys see that kind of issue? How do you go around that?
Definitely. So we know that there's certain limitations on the thinness is definitely a factor where it will curl. And so depending on what you're trying to accomplish with the design, if it's a glue and stitch situation, it's just you got to make sure that you've got to glue down before you start to put the thread to and needle through it. But it will cut really thick grades as well. Like we have belt leather here too. And like with this leather applique that we, like I was mentioning earlier, like we've made rose petals from it. Like there's all kinds of different applications that we've used it for. But that curling is partially due to the heat and just the way the leather, reacts to it because it once was a living organism. And but again, you just glue it, and there's a special type of glue that it will it lasts for only a certain amount of time, and if you have, say, a little bit that spills out the side, it just curls up in a little ball. So it looks like a white school glue, and if you know anybody in the leather industry, they can give you the name of that particular glue.
And do you guys mix and match? I've actually seen some denim on your golf covers. What's kind of the reaction to denim? Have you ever tried engraving denim?
We didn't do any engraving on the denim. I have seen some. I know that you guys do that, which is pretty cool. I think some of our staff have used a laser for some denim work, for their personal items.
Right.
The only reason why we did the denim was more of a play on the Canadian tuxedo.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was kind of a joke head cover. And then all of a sudden that got out there, and then people they wanted to have like jean shorts, and we made head covers where you could actually unbutton and unzip the pants and stuff. It always starts with the little one idea. It's like, oh, let's try denim, and then we'll put the leather patch on it just to make sure that we've got our leather covered. And then that went into some experiential covers, and then we got into making jean jackets, and then that turned into replicating the master's green jacket. And then what happens in this industry is the mom and pops end up ripping your designs, and so we see our competitors, literally stealing our designs. Is not patentable, and it's not even worth trying, and we don't bother fighting it. We just have a list of people that we know that are not respective of our work. So if we see them at the trade show, they probably don't get a hello or a free beer when we're doing our happy hour.
And actually, your brother does he do all of the design, or?
So we have 3 full-time designers, and Alex has been with us pretty much since day one. Jeff originally started doing a lot of the design work, and just he self-taught Photoshop to himself.
Yeah, he was the one in the video that we did with you guys, right? The wolf, like
so that's Alex.
That's Alex. Oh,
yeah.
I see.
So Alex actually went to Vancouver Film School and did a digital media degree or certificate. I can't remember exactly how they categorize it, but it's a 2-year course. And he also, I think in that course, he specialized in branding projects. So, if, let's say Trotec wanted to do a rebrand or a refresh of their logo or any of that type of work. That's kind of what his specialty is. But in the golf industry, certainly he's probably done more head covers over the last 6 years, and I don't know anybody else who's done as many as him.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We have a question from 5-Star Words Engraving. Before that, you did get another client from the U.S. My husband just started golfing, so I'm totally feeling one of your covers in his future birthday in October for the win. That's awesome.
Right on.
So that's great. So 5-Star is asking, so are you actually using an embroidery single head to tack the layers of leather together, like running a stitch?
So there's a couple different ways that the single head is utilized. So when you're talking about tacking layers of leather, you can actually do a perimeter stitch. So if you think of baseball jerseys and the twill, and if you have a really nice baseball jersey and it says, say, the Minnesota Twins across the chest, the word twins is it's a fabric, and then they would do a perimeter stitch around it. So it looks like when you're from afar, it looks like it's embroidered, but it's actually a piece of twill, which is almost like a silk, and then they would stitch that around. Well, you can do that exact same process with leather as well. And there's a file that you would have where it does the trace around whatever you want to tack down. And that's a really nice way to finish a cover. And I have some of those. There's one here that has that exact process that we're talking about.
I think
you
Mike
call that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say you call that the sew stitch, right?
Pardon me?
You call that the sew stitch? Is that typically the terminology you would use for that in the embroidery industry, I believe?
What they call zigzag, they use that for cresting, like for jerseys and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
a sew stitch.
Yeah. And then, so like the running stitch, to my knowledge, is like if you have, let's say the word is Bob. Well, from there's a way that the stitch ends, and you would, if it's a black thread on white leather, sometimes it would leave like a finished edge like that, so it doesn't look as good. So you'd want to do a perimeter stitch around that to sew all that in. And so a running stitch is actually a style of stitch. I'm not sure whether that. I'm not sure why they asked about the running stitch, but in any case, you can use a single head to do a one custom job. That's why we have a single head versus the 8 heads, because you don't want to have all 8 heads working on when you just need one custom cover done. So we're fortunate to have that embroidery partner here, but we're about to enter that realm here in the next year of having everything under our control.
Do you do any sublimation on leather?
Pardon me?
Do you do any sublimation on leather too, or is it...
we have tried it, and to our we've done a bunch of testing with it, and the guys that we did it with, some were good, some were bad. It just, there were so many variables of whether the leather had a finish to it, and then when you're applying another finish, how do those chemicals react, and does it peel, and is the heat going to affect it? Is the rain going to affect it? So in our industry, we need to build stuff that's, it needs to be really durable, and we found that a lot of that stuff just doesn't pass the test. And it's out there. I find like those designs, we do printed leather, and it's done in Italy, and those are for big runs. Like we just did one. Have you guys ever heard of the course called the National in Toronto? So it's one of the probably most famous private clubs in Canada, and it's always like top 3 ranked. And they had an old national logo, and it was actually a really cool print. So we just released those on our Instagram. I think some of them are still on the story, and I know that they've reshared those through Instagram on the stories. And yeah, if you get that up there, if you keep skipping, there you go. So that green, so that pattern there it was made in Italy, or at least it was produced on Italian leather in an Italian factory that does this printing process, and that's we're really comfortable with using that because we've tested it. It's taken us 2 years to really find the right. We had some early stuff that we tested, and the chemical that they applied for the waterproofing and the sunproofing was not thick enough. But they've, through trial and error, we've got it to the point now that it's always a challenge too, because a lot of these guys don't speak English, and so it's fun. It's cutting edge stuff, and but when you produce a cover like that, competition and customers look at it and go, I've never seen that before. Like, how does that happen?
How often do you guys actually use this kind of social media where you before you do a massive production, you would ask which design, and does it actually go into design? So you, like, if you have 90% of the people wanting the left one, then you say, okay, the right one we're not even going to produce. Or,
oh yeah. So part of my job in the end was, like, I'm still running it. I'm about to get out of it. Is running the Instagram full time, and that's just a poll that was a totally just an engagement question. A lot of our competition run those and actually will make a decision on what they would run with, and we have kind of strayed from that because for a number of reasons. This one here was just those covers were already made. We worked with the pro staff, sent the mock-ups, and we know how many. I think there may have been 5 of each or something like that. So out of curiosity, I was just curious to see what people actually preferred, and I think in the end here, is it showing the percentage on yours?
No, I can't. I don't have access to your account, unfortunately.
Okay, because I can actually get it.
What is your Instagram, Leb? What is the Instagram?
The Dormie Workshop.
Can you see the polling numbers?
1 sec. Let me get rid of this. Oh, so it's very close. 54.
Yeah. 54-46. So split down the middle, and but again, those, like, the Instagram is probably our most powerful tool on social media. Like Facebook, lukewarm. We got it. We're just under 30,000 on Instagram for followers, and those are. It took a long time to build that, but they're super engaged, and our direct messaging is huge, and we get a lot of comments, but we also interact with our customers, and Facebook is coming around. And again, with our Facebook ads, our latest campaign, we hit 1 million in terms of what's the word, reach, I guess, of views. Like there's a bunch of different metrics that they use to see how, like, who's seeing it, and anyway, I know that 1 million, it was either a click or something, and that was from 2 campaigns that were run in May and June. So there's different ways of attacking social media, and we focused on Instagram, but we're now moving towards Facebook with targeted ads.
And I mean, I asked the question, how did you hear about laser technology? But I mean, what specifically drew you guys to Trotec? How did you find out about Trotec? Why did you go with the Trotec laser in the end? Yeah,
so the partner company that I was telling you that we share our commercial space with right now, this is our second location that we've been in with them. So in the original location, and they moved 3 times. We moved 5 times in 5 years at one point. It was just crazy. And so it was actually the guy, we had said to him, man, there's a laser machine that we think could work for both of us. Definitely is going to work for our applications, and you might be able to utilize it as well. And he was in a better financial position, and so he started to do some digging, and he's a very meticulous, very thorough examiner of anything when it comes to, because he had to buy the embroidery machines, he's got silk screening, and so in the end, Trotec, I don't think it was even like a question based on the quality of product, the app, and the price, and certainly service wise and everything else. I know that he's really happy with it. But what happened in the end was we used it so much that we are just buying it, like we bought it from.
That's very interesting. So you guys actually co-opted the machine with another company,
Yep.
and then bought the machine. Mike or Mel, do you guys have that a lot?
Well, I just going to say, that's a very, Todd's situation is a very unique. Well, not unique. I mean, but it's important to see that sometimes it's good for you to make a partnership with somebody. It's sort of like why there's maker spaces out there, because people sometimes can't maybe justify the machine for themselves, but if they go to somebody else that they feel might need the machine too, then the two of them can get together and they can feed off each other, right?
Especially for larger
it's a very
machines.
good, it's a very good example.
You do that a lot in schools, yeah? Like
Oh,
a
really?
school buys it, and then a lot of different departments shares it. So,
Right.
That's the man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the old way of like when you don't have the bucks, but you have the ability and the trust of others, you can really extend and make everybody better. But you have to have that trust level, and certainly we have that, and so that we've been able to, like you say, we never would have been able to buy the machine probably on our own back then, and but it raised our bar so quickly, and I mean almost like violently. It was such a, like, it opened up our design. The designers were like, holy smokes, we can do this and this, and it was just like boom, we were just out of there. Like, just the competitors are so far behind, because we also have our design, just our team in general. Like, we have 8 graduates from Nova Scotia College of Art and Design, so you would be, I can't think of one organization in Canada that would have that many. That's almost half the staff is based on artists that were professionally trained. And so our design team and people like our leather artists that are working back there, none of them golf. So we've taken them to the golf course, introduced it, and we've had certainly a lot of fun, like, and so they now understand the terminology, and some of them really liked it, enjoyed the experience, while others just thought it was just like everything else. They either loved it or hated it or moved on. But you think of golf companies and you think, oh man, these guys they must be all just waiting to get out of there so they can go play. It's like the furthest from the truth, except the 3 principals, which is Jeff, Alex, and I, who live it and breathe it. And Dad's walking behind me now because he's got some new clubs that just got delivered, so he's poking around my desk. So it's a generational thing.
Tell us about this, actually. This is interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, the story about that one was there was a guy who was dating one of Terry's daughters. And the inside joke was that Terry had said, you haven't crossed the line yet. You're not in the circle of friends, basically. And so we made a special leather tag that was laser etched, and it had a line, and this is just on the hang tag on the side, and this guy's toe was just across it. And this was basically saying, here's the offering. I mean, a golf leather head cover as a dowry, I don't know if that passed the grade, because I don't think they are together anymore. But Terry still got that killer head cover, and on the back side of it is the does it go anymore? You can get one more. Oh, there it is. Look at the back there. So that's actually hair on hide. So if you held that in your hand, you could actually feel the hair of the cow there.
this area here, right? That's funny.
I thought you could tell me it was a shotgun cover. I'd have a shotgun cover for the boys that came over to date my daughters.
Actually, Mike, tell them which sticker you have on your car.
Yeah, it's Dad. Dad's against daughters dating. So you can get T-shirts and everything like that. So
Sounds like a cover in the making.
There you go. You gave him an idea.
yeah,
That's not misleading.
Yeah.
And then what? Like, I was actually interested. I mean, what average would you say between the design and the production? How long does it take to make a full golf cover? You know, from beginning to end.
Yeah. So, like, if let's say we're going to use that dad example, and so it would be okay. Well, we need to figure out the font. Do you need actually some logo like cross clubs, or so there would be some digital mock-ups that we would create. That usually takes 48 hours. You get your mock-up back. We allow 2 iterations, so we could hit it out of the park and it's approved. And from that point, once we get that design to the approval point, then it should be 4 weeks to deliver. But right now we're 5 to 6 with COVID and UPS. I mean, I don't think you can find a shipping company right now that has any guarantees anymore. So it's a challenging time. People are definitely, we're very transparent on our delivery times and set the expectations that realistically our production, you know, just even getting our leathers from Italy was a real challenge. So we had to source some other leathers, which is fine. I mean, there's still great high quality from South America. China has some as well, and US. So there's lots of ways to get really high quality leather. We just prefer to use Italian because we know the guys there, and it's really the best in the world.
This is actually cool. You guys did recycle Coach bags for golf covers? Wow.
Yeah, we've done Louis Vuitton. We've done Goyard. We've done all kinds of, again, that's those experiential covers. So people saw one that we made, and then it was a flurry for about 12 months straight. Just people sending in their wives' purses and bags, and you know, it's a good way to get on their good side.
Yeah. James missed the jam session, but he wants a full set of Trailer Park Boys.
I mean, the thing about our team is we can definitely do inspired work. If we don't have the license agreement set up, we can't, you know, specifically use the same font and everything like that. But we have a new license agreement with a company called Radio Days, and that's given us access to images like the Beatles, Albert Einstein, Jimi Hendrix, the Little Rascals. There's all these different kind of the golden era of music and TV. So that's going to be the next thing that we're going to start to release is some of these special license agreements that we have.
And before we finish it off, I want to ask: do you guys have any? Do you ever put any like hard physical objects into the soft leather, like wood or acrylic or plastics or anything like that, in terms of integrating?
Yeah, so we use rivets a lot. I had one here too, but yeah, we use a lot of rivets. We're actually doing an injection mold, which is again it's an Italian process. So it's going to create that raised 3D look. So let's say, you know, we make these crazy dog covers, and that's all because of Trotec. That was because we do the name tags as well, right?
All right, so cool.
That whole thing is basically made using a Trotec machine, other than the little D-ring that we have to hang the name tag from. But I can't forget what I was.
Sell the D-rings too, Todd.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, the reason I'm saying because we have like our acrylics that Trotec sells is Italian acrylic. We have like 90 different colors of acrylic, mirrored and you know, neon and whatever. So my question was like, do you guys would you ever integrate small components of you know, something like laser cut or engraved acrylic into these kind of golf covers?
We haven't done it specifically for golf covers, but we used them for trade shows. So all our acrylic signage, because all that earned media, we bought the rights to. So a lot of people don't even understand that game. You'd think if you won the best, you know, head cover by Golf Digest, you'd be able to use that badge. But that badge is actually a license deal. You guys probably know that, but in any case, if you guys ever win the best laser machine, whoever it is that gave you that award is looking for cash.
Yeah.
So in order to use those badges, the point I was trying to make is we used the Trotec to do that clear with the kind of glaze, or that shading that you use when you shade a window for privacy, like in the bathroom, like that type of finish we used for making the Golf Digest signs, and so those badges, like just putting that on there at our trade show booth. Then Golf Digest came by, they took a photo, and they're like, oh, here's one of our Editor's Choice Award winners, and then that gets put on the media. So those trade shows become very fluid marketing machines of promotion and advertising in a secondary. It wasn't our intention to just utilize the trade show for that purpose, but that's what happens in the end. We get tons of interviews like that, and it's great. We kind of double down on our money spent, so it's a good ROI.
Very cool. I think, we're over the hours mark, so I think we'll end it there. Unfortunately, Stephen, we didn't have any tech questions for you, but, guys, if you have any, people are watching, if you have any tech questions along the way that you want to ask, we'll definitely bring it up. That's why we have Stephen here. But other than that, I just want to really thank Todd for his time, for the hour that he spent with us. I mean, it's definitely a really, really cool world of just design and production, and a really unique product. Anything else the panel wants to say?
Well, I need to talk to Todd because this needs replacement.
Oh, geez. There it is. The reason why we live.
Now you need a swing replacement, not a
he used to do that too.
Okay, well, thanks so much. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey, well, thanks for the laser technology, guys. It definitely transformed our business.
Thanks, Todd, cool.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure meeting you.
Likewise.